This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do over the airwaves of ESPN Radio every weekday. 250 plus markets across the United States of America, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM, Channel 80. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. As the day progresses, there's so many markets, there's so many cities that's going to be affected by what's transpiring in free agency, pending free agency in the NBA. We'll definitely get into that. Some NFL talk to get to as well. I'll definitely get into that. Tom Brady had a conversation with Oprah. I'll definitely be bringing that up. And obviously, there are some things to get into as well, some other NFL items that I'll touch on. But before I get into my first topic, the top topic on my mind at this particular moment in time, I wanted to remind y'all. Don't know if you heard the news. And to a lot of you folks out there, you might think it has absolutely nothing to do with you, but I got news for you. It does. The state of New Jersey, led by Governor Phil Murphy, placed the state's first sports bet today. The state, credited with further opening the doors to legalize sports gambling, began taking bets today, y'all. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy placed the first bets in the state at Mammoth Park Racetrack, a $20 bet on Germany actually winning the World Cup, another $20 bet on the New Jersey Devils winning the Stanley Cup next season. There was a state senator that joined him. Obviously, it was a big deal. Signed into law in 2013. New Jersey Sports Betting Act. Signed into law in 2013, the state still had to wait until last month when the United States Supreme Court ruled the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act of 1992 unconstitutional. That allowed the states to unilaterally make their own decisions in regard to sports betting as opposed to making it a federal offense to engage in sports betting itself. The state was beaten to the punch last Tuesday, reading an article from Darren Rovell of ESPN, business reporter, who, by the way, will be on with us in less than 30 minutes or so. Listen, they got beat to the punch by Delaware, which placed its first bet, what was it, last Tuesday? All right, they began taking their first single-game sports bets. Julius Erving, Dr. J, the doctor, the former star in the NBA of the Philadelphia 76ers, placed a $5 wager on the Philadelphia Eagles to repeat as Super Bowl champions. He did that at the Borgata Racing Sportsbook at 11 a.m. today. He spoke about it, talked about how it'll be a quick learning curve for the state of New Jersey, but he anticipates that they'll be successful in doing so. If you recall, New Jersey is expected to be a big betting state. William Hill, U.S. Chief Executive Joe Asher, told ESPN that at maturity, he expects the state to handle roughly $10 billion in bets. Projections, Asher cautions, will depend on a lot of factors, including whether the legalization will lead gamblers to leave their bookies. See, for me, ladies and gentlemen, here's the question. As to whether or not betting, gambling on a world of professional sports is a good or bad thing. To me, it's a good thing. Number one is a question mark as to whether guys will leave their bookies, but and evade that underground stuff, which I think will happen. I think it will generate more revenue for the economy. I think dollars will flow into the right places. And as a result, for the most part, states will become fruitful and enabled to multiply. I think for the leagues, it will be good because I think it will elevate interest. I think for the television networks, the radio networks, and beyond, it will elevate interest in the world of sports. You'll see people clamoring for more information. Why? Because the more information you get, ultimately, it'll put you in a better position to make more quality bets. And rather than investing your money on Wall Street and waiting months or years for fruition to come about, this stuff could happen in a matter of minutes. If you're lucky enough, gifted enough, skilled enough at gambling, you can alter your life in a heartbeat. You can show up to a casino or some betting booth or what have you. And guess what? You can lit up there. You can show up to one of them 21 ticket windows at Mammoth Park. And in a span of a minute or two, if not minutes or hours, Literally be able to pay your bills if you win. Now, for those of you who might look at it negatively, entirely different approach. You can ruin your life. It can build addiction in some people. It might not be what you need it to be. It might not be what you want it to be. It could be problematic. All of that's true. But I think in the end, here's what it comes down to. By virtue of the fact that you have fantasy football, fantasy basketball, fantasy baseball, and all of this other stuff, we've been gambling, folks. We've been gambling. Let's not fool ourselves. Let's not act like we're all that clueless. The bottom line is we've been gambling. So its legalization is necessary. This is not like weed. I am not a proponent of legalizing marijuana. For medicinal purposes, yes. Not for recreational purposes. Hell no. Folks will remain nameless, but we've seen folks in the world of professional sports that we looked at, and we looked at the way they played, and we said, damn, are they high? I don't want those question marks in the world of sports. And I'll be the first to admit that I think that stringent rules should be placed upon sports teams, players, everyone associated with the world of sports, because we got to make sure that the integrity of the sports are not compromised, which I think will be handled. With all these fantasy sports leagues going on and us having to deal with that, with these polls and these brackets and everything else that was taking place, and we had to deal with that. No reason to believe that that's going to be a problem now. No reason to believe that that can't be handled now. So I am a proponent of the Supreme Court's decision to essentially open the floodgates for individual states to legalize gambling in sports if they so choose. The hell with that Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act of 1992. It's 2018. It's 26 years ago. Times have changed. Social media, the advent of social media. Fantasy sports and beyond. It's changed. This is a different world. It's not what it used to be. And because of that, I say to you, go ahead and legalize it. Just understand the ramifications. Understand that you legalizing it, it's going to be a lot more people gambling because it's been legalized. They don't have to go underground to do it. They don't have to engage with a bookie to do it. They don't have to worry about their health and beyond, because you just never know how the underground world works. So the pros of it is that it's going to stimulate the economy. It's going to generate more money for the economy because the money will be going into the right hands, we suppose, put forth for better use, we suppose. The flip side to it is that there's going to be a proliferation in gambling addicts. You're going to see people putting their families and their livelihoods on the line because of it. You're going to see an elevated level of violence. There's pros and cons to everything. This is no different. Now, for those of you out there who says, why do we have to go the route of the economy? Why do we have to be so generic in our approach to discussing that? I'll tell you why, ladies and gentlemen, because everything's about the economy. We need to grow up and stop fooling ourselves. Everything's about the economy because everything's about money, because everything's about having money in your pocket. I remember when President Obama was in office, and one of the first things he was focused on was universal health care. And my position was be focused on the money. Not that I know any better. I'm not trying to get political here and trying to act as if I'm an aficionado on these things. I'm just talking as a layman on the outside looking in, watching television, watching shows, reading the newspaper. Almost every article at that time, once he went into office, was about, universal health care. And my attitude was focus on the economy. Because the economy means jobs. Jobs mean money. And the more money folks have in their pocket, the more happier they will be. Now, none of it means anything without good health. And I understand. I'm not talking about good health. I'm talking about health care. If you got money in your pocket, chances are you're going to be happier. If you're happier, chances are you're going to be healthier. That's how it works. Not in all cases, but in a lot more than we give credit for. You're talking about attitudes being changed. You're talking about stress not being as much of a factor. You're talking about violence being or dissipating to some degree. Because if you got money in your pocket, why do you feel the need to bother somebody else in most situations? Be fruitful. That's what it's about. So I'm all for dollars and cents. I'm a proud capitalist. And anything that generates more money for an economy ultimately generates more jobs, more opportunities. And the more opportunities more people have, the better of a society we are. I truly do believe the more we have, the more we'll spend. And the more we have to spend, the happier we'll be. Now, that doesn't mean that's more valuable than your health. I'm saying it contributes to good health. More money, less stress. Anybody that's broke understands what I'm saying. You worried about paying your bills? You worried about being able to buy something? You worried about having a roof over your head, or food on your plate, or clothes on your back? Life is considerably more stressful. Those who have lived a life of affluence, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Most of us who have been poor, we understand exactly what I'm talking about. And anything that could contribute to elevating our society economically, we must entertain. Now, those of you out there who would be stupid enough to argue with me about that being a case for legalizing marijuana, stop. Stop it. Like I said, I'm not talking for medicinal purposes. It's legalized in at least 26 states. Medicinal marijuana use. I am not going into that debate. There is no debate. I support that. I'm talking about dudes and gals who are in good health, but want to use it recreationally, want to show up to work high. Man, boss getting on my nerves, man. I can't stand. I'm all right. It's going to be, it's no big deal. Man, back shot. Boss giving you orders, you like, huh? Nah, I don't support that. Not at all. Ain't standing for it. Don't want no parts of it. Because that's a recipe for disaster. More so than anybody can want to come up with. I don't care what anybody says. I've seen it. I want no part of it in the world of sports. Cats stepping on the court or the field to play. They ain't ready to perform. They chilling. Now, some people say, oh, Stephen A., but, that ain't got nothing to do with when they're home. Well, if you're using it excessively enough, who's to say you're going to stop when you leave home? Because I'm here to tell you, marijuana is addictive. I don't give a damn what nobody says. I've seen too many nuggets of evidence to support that theory. It can be addictive in some cases. That's the accurate way to display it, to say it. Now, that doesn't mean sports gambling can't be addictive too. I'm simply saying it already exists. And leagues have already been profiting off of it, as have networks. ESPN got a fantasy football channel. You know what I'm saying? Not channel, but fantasy football shows. Can't tell you. I can't begin to tell you how popular it is. Just ask our Matthew Berry. It's incredibly popular. Networks profit off of it. Leagues profit off of it. Why not everybody else? It's the way I look at it. It's the way I view it. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Let me transition to another subject. And I want to have a direct conversation right now. Hopefully he's listening somewhere. His name would be Irvin Magic Johnson. If he's not listening, his right-hand man, Lon Rosen, super agent, great guy, by the way. He's listening. Let me say this. You'll be hard-pressed to find folks that would display more respect, more reverence to the great Magic Johnson than me. He's a 5-time champion, went to the finals 9 times, was a treasure and a tribute to this sport. He's a basketball savant, brilliant when it comes to the game of basketball, special in a lot of ways. There is no doubt. There is no doubt. There is also no doubt that Magic Johnson is a significant upgrade to Jim Buss. Jim Buss had no business being in that position. He was just there because his daddy once owned the team. God rest his soul. Sitting there watching games at Hooters. Damn near wasn't at the game half the time. Took Jeannie Buss forever to get rid of him. Shouldn't have taken that damn long. Let him spend the family's money, do what he got to do. But he had no business. I don't give a damn. Let him go back to the horses. Now that we've got sports gambling being allowed, the Supreme Court opened the doors for that. Let Jim Buss go back to gambling, to doing whatever the hell he was doing with horses. Don't need to be a part of basketball. It's a great, great thing that Magic Johnson is the face of the Los Angeles Lakers franchise right now. But my brother Magic Johnson, if you are listening, you have got to get something done this summer. LeBron James, Paul George, a trade involving Kawhi Leonard or Kemba Walker, you got to get something. Earvin Magic Johnson, you cannot finish the summer of 2018 with nothing. It cannot happen. LeBron James, for all intent and purposes, everybody believes that's where he's going to end up going, to L.A. Paul George has a decision to make, 3-pronged decision. Oklahoma City's going to offer him the max. He's from Palmdale, California. He wants to come back to L.A. But if he went to Philadelphia, it would be a special situation for him because it's tailor-made for him. Ben Simmons can't shoot. He can do everything else, but he can't shoot. He's got to work on his shot. That's not a problem Paul George has. Ben Simmons can handle the ball. Paul George is a definite upgrade from J.J. Redick. No disrespect because I love J.J. Redick. And Joel Embiid. And with Paul George in Philadelphia, 76ers would be a title contender. I'm telling you that right now. With who they have, they'd give Boston a run for their money. And we all know it's about Boston and Philadelphia in the future. Unless LeBron goes to one of them, then it's about whatever team he's on, assuming he stays out east. But I'm here to tell you right now, you cannot be Earvin Magic Johnson, the president of basketball operations, for arguably the most storied sports franchise in history. In the city of Los Angeles, California, palm trees, sunshine, beautiful weather, Beverly Hills, Rodeo Drive, Melrose Place, and beyond. You cannot be Earvin Magic Johnson with all of that available to you. Plus with young talent like Kuzma and Randall and Ball and Ingram. Plus with enough cap space, right around $70 million and counting. Enough to grab at least one max player, arguably 2. And you walk away with nothing. It cannot happen. It just can't. It just can't. Magic Johnson ain't going anywhere unless he wants to. Magic Johnson's going to be with the Lakers for years to come. Magic Johnson's going to be running basketball operations, etc., etc. We get all of that. But the faith that everybody has in him, the belief we have and we should have in his greatness and his expertise was somewhat compromised by the picking of Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball's the number 2 overall pick. Didn't play like it. Has a high basketball IQ, incredible upside, but never wanted to be assertive. I was making the argument today on First Take. Lonzo Ball, in his rap lyrics against teammate Kyle Kuzma as they were trolling and playing each other, just playing around, Lonzo Ball was more aggressive with his rap lyrics and his verbiage than he ever was on a basketball court for the Lakers in his first season. That is unacceptable. You got to have cats that could grow up. Guys, LeBron, Paul George, Chris Paul, potentially. These guys ain't trying to come here to babysit. Take your head out of you know what, and get going. Enough. You got a ball. Kuzma, I'm not going to hold against so much because Kuzma comes to ball. Lonzo was more assertive in his rap lyrics than he had been the entire rookie year on the basketball court. If he went after opponents the way he went after Kyle Kuzma, maybe we would have been talking about him the way we were talking about some of these other rookies. I'm just saying. Either way you slice it, having conversations with Magic Johnson, or having conversations rather with Lonzo Ball about how they need to tone down the rhetoric with each other. Yeah, that's part of Magic Johnson's job description. The other half is getting a star to Tinseltown. There's a few of them out there this summer, and the Lakers have the means to get it. They just got to recruit. And I'll be damned if I want to hear the name Rob Pelinka. Mad respect to him. Good luck. But I don't give a damn about Rob Pelinka right now when it comes to recruiting. I give a damn about one man. His name is Irvin Magic Johnson. Paul George could stay in OKC or go to Philly, or he could come to you. Kawhi could demand a trade to you or stay in San Antonio or go to Boston. LeBron can choose his pick of the litter. Chris Paul could choose to come back. I just gave you 4 guys. If LeBron James had to get me 1 in the NBA Finals, why shouldn't Magic have to get me 1 in free agency? I believe in my brother Magic Johnson. And I'm hoping and praying for him because God am I rooting for LA. But the Magic Man has got to get it done. 888 say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. I started off the show talking about sports gambling, and I'm going to piggyback off of that to bring on my next guest. He's the business reporter for ESPN, one of the best in the business. His name is Darren Rovell, and he'll be on with yours truly next, right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Next. You're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie. This does look fun. Whee-oh! You melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
31 minutes past the hour. Number 1, back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. As I told you earlier, my honor and privilege to have my next guest on the line, business reporter extraordinaire for ESPN. Does an outstanding job for us. Always look forward to talking to him. He's at Monmouth. Right. He was there today, witnessing the first bet get placed by Governor Phil Murphy. The one and only Darren Rovell for ESPN is on the line with yours truly right now. What's going on, Darren? How are you, buddy?
Good afternoon, Stephen A.
Put in perspective for me how big of a day this was for the state of New Jersey and how big of a day this was for the world of sports, considering that we're talking about the legalization of sports gambling.
Sure. Well, I was in Delaware last Tuesday, and Delaware is probably going to do 10% of what New Jersey will do in a year in terms of total handle, and that was evident today. I mean, at Monmouth Park, there were hundreds and hundreds of people waiting to place their first legal sports bets. I have not. I'm waiting to figure out. As soon as the day closes here, we'll see exactly how much the total handle is. But they say that when it reaches maturity in maybe 2 or 3 years, the state of New Jersey might do $10 billion in bets.
So if it's 10 billion.
And
you talk about $10 billion in 1 year? You talk about $10 billion in 1 year?
I am.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Go ahead. Here's the thing. The thing is, how are people going to react to legalized betting?
That's
are
where I was
they
going.
going to not want to show up because, they don't want to be seen? Are they still going to go to their bookie because the bookie offers credit? And, you need your cold hard cash if you're going to place a bet at one of these places in New Jersey. People have relationships with their bookies. And I even spoke to Joe Asher, who's the William Hill CEO. They're partnering with
Darren, talk closer to the phone because your voice is fading a little bit. We were losing you for a second. Go ahead, buddy.
So I even had a chance to talk to Joe Asher, who's the CEO of William Hill, and they're partnering with Monmouth. And he said, yeah, we understand people still have relationships with bookies, and we don't think everyone's going to come in here. So that's going to be a question. But certainly there's money to be made, and that's the reason why New Jersey did what they did. And, the Supreme Court basically said, okay, states, do what you want. And Jersey and Delaware are there, and we expect Mississippi soon and maybe a couple more states this year. And then every other state will judge and see whether they think it's a moneymaker.
Darren Rovell, business reporter for ESPN, right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Darren, what would be the hesitancy specifically for somebody who was operating underground with bookies, departing from those bookies to just engage in legalized gambling? What would be the hiccup there? Why would that be a problem?
Yeah, you think that would be a natural, right? Like the anxiety of having to show up and see someone in person and get the envelope, and maybe get the envelope 4 days later after a bet instead of showing up right away in a legalized situation. You think that would be a natural. But there are, relationships with these bookies. Bookies might give a guy who's done business with him better odds. And as I said before, you don't need to have $10,000 cash. You might be down $25,000, and the bookie could say, all right, make any bet you want. The question also is going to be, as legalized sports gambling happens and the states realize money through taxes, are the states going to get more stringent on cracking down on bookies?
That was my next question, because I'm wondering how difficult is life going to become for those bookies, or is there a way that these bookies can also become a bit legalized and they could become a part of the gambling process that's allowed?
Well, I don't think that'll ever happen, because the states will never trust them. They're never going to report what they really make. And I would say the other side to it is, remember, no one who's ever bet with a bookie has been prosecuted. Only the bookies get prosecuted. The people that actually bet have never been prosecuted, even though the law is kind of a bit ambiguous. So I think that there will be people who will still bet with their bookies. I don't know what percent. They're hoping, obviously, to take a whole bunch of these guys and convert them. But I would also say that in order to place a bet of more than $1,000, you have to declare your name, and they put it in the system. That's a pretty low bet for some people, and they don't want their name associated and the government and the state to have their name. So that's another reason to go with the bookie.
Darren Rovell right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Darren, what do you think this will do for the sports leagues and the networks?
The question is there added value above what occurs? Is the pie expanding? Or are the states just taking a piece of business that previously existed? If it's the latter, then it might not do much, because the ratings will be pretty much the same. You're just shifting dollars from the offshore books, which are sketchier than bookies in a way, and putting it into the pockets of the states. Now, I think that it's going to grow the pie, and it just depends on how much it does. So you start with the ratings, which are more important as there's TV fragmentation. People have more choices than ever before. The watching it on TV is very important to the future of rights fees, which hopefully the leagues think the Amazons and the YouTubes of the world are going to be, and the Facebooks are going to be able to give them a boost again. So I think it'll help. Now, the other question is, are these leagues going to get away with what they apparently are asking for, which in some cases, which is baseball and the NBA, asking for an integrity fee, where they say, because the costs of regulating this are going to be ramped up, we need a piece of the pie. And therefore, we want 1% of the total bet of anything bet on our games. Now, that doesn't currently happen in Vegas, but you wonder if that's going to happen. If that happens, the Players Association say, wait. You're using our names, so we deserve 1% too. And then the states might argue that, all of a sudden what looks so good doesn't look as good anymore if you're giving away portions to the leagues and the players. So there's a lot that needs to shake out.
Now, you remember when the reports came out that if the NBA, the NBA would try to get involved in all of this and they would want 1% of all bets made? People were saying, I think yourself included, that would never happen. Conceivably, if a sports league took that position, how much money do you think, I shouldn't ask, how much of a percentage per se do you think a sports league would end up getting of all bets being made?
Yeah, I don't know. It could be 1%. It could be less. I would say that Adam Silver and the NBA would also have to be careful.
Why?
Because, I'll tell you. Because you know how Adam has been very upfront about issuing reports immediately after when calls are made, and they've been very upfront about bad calls. Well,
right.
Now you're taking a piece. Now you're taking a piece of the pie. Okay? And now you're freely admitting when you've taken a piece of that pie that you got the call wrong. What happens now? See, now all of a sudden getting the call wrong has greater consequences. And if you're dipping in and you took a piece of a bet and that bet was deemed to be a loss, but then you come back and you say it was a loss because our bad call, then I think you got an issue.
Well, basically what you're saying is the transparency that the NBA is proud of extolling that they promote is actually going to work, has the potential to work against them. That's basically what you're telling me.
That's correct.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is this, but how from this perspective? So what? They came back. Human error is a part of it. We're not forcing you to gamble on our product, our brand, our games. You've elected to do so.
That would be the response. That would be the response. Well, I'm just saying, at best, it would be awkward if you're taking a piece of the pie and you say the people that we pay messed up, and, a win is a win and a loss is a loss, and we're sorry, but we're really admitting that you lost because we made a bad call.
And so what are you saying, that the gambler, him or herself, that bet on these games, once the league acknowleded human error took place, what that might be cause for a lawsuit or something like that?
Yeah. Hey, listen, I don't want to, it's another way to call into integrity, the whole process
right.
into integrity. Right? Luckily refs, we know we had the Tim Donaghy situation, but refs and guys, the last players on the bench, make enough so you'd think there wouldn't be any issues. But to me, at least for college, they're the ones that could be the most compromised from legalized sports betting because the guys don't get paid. But at least from a professional sports standpoint, if the leagues are taking a cut, this would be the issue if they were as honest as the NBA and as transparent as the NBA after a call was made.
Darren Rovell, always appreciate your time, buddy. Thank you so much. Before I let you get on out of here, at the end of the day, is this a good thing for the world of sports or not, based on just your knowledge of all of this?
Well, for the money, I do believe it's better for the leagues. I think it'll be better for the players. I think some states are going to mess up here. I think some states are not going to make money. I think a lot of people are going to lose money trying to win the game and build an app, build a whole bunch of products. There's going to be winners, big-time winners, and there's going to be, I think, 5 or 10 of them, and there's going to be a ton of losers. And goes that way for gambling, too. So I think it was inevitable anyway. I think the states will get most of the states will get more money, and I think it's obviously good for the leagues because it leads to more watching, more interest, which would be more money in the future on rights fees.
Darren Rovell, appreciate you, buddy. Thanks so much, man.
You got
Take care. All right. The one and only Darren Rovell, business reporter for ESPN, right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. I'm telling you, there's going to be pros and cons to all of it, but at the end of the day, you got to do this. When you got fantasy sports leagues all over the place, and you got leagues essentially engaging in gambling, no matter what they say, you have to legalize it. You just have to. It's the right thing to do. But there are going to be some cons to this. There are going to be some folks who suffer because of this. Make no mistake about it. Back with more of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio in a minute.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! To the phones we go real quick. Arthur and Callie, you're live with Stephen A. You got about 40 seconds. Go.
Hey, thanks, Steven. I'm just calling back because you roasted me yesterday, told me to call you back. I'm just giving you two reasons why we don't want LeBron and we don't need LeBron. Number one, we don't want LeBron because of the blasphemous disrespect that's been put on my guy Kobe. He's somehow already better than Kobe, and he's already better than Jordan. I have no idea how. You got to tell your associates to think better than that.
Man, didn't I tell you got 40 seconds? Hurry up. What's the
point?
Right,
second of all, we don't need him because we don't need him to come here and it's hoopla the first couple weeks. Then they start losing a couple games. He starts frowning and touting. Then he says, my teammates are trash and I need to change the roster in the middle of the season. We were only 8 games out of the playoffs last year. We just need a couple good signings. We don't need LeBron. We don't need his phony triple-doubles. He's the Russell Westbrook of the East, except when he gets triple-doubles, he gets praised instead of getting grilled like Russell does.
I got you. Good job. When I tell y'all 40 minutes, it's because I got a hard commercial break. Pay attention and be ready for your points. Hour number 2 up next. I got a whole lot of stuff to talk about. Terence Crawford, too, up next.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio. Any minute now, I'm expecting a call from the great one himself, Terence Crawford. Hopefully he'll call in. Elite writer for Top Rank Promotions. Obviously, they're in partnership with ESPN. Great event this past Saturday night on the ESPN Plus app. I enjoyed watching it. Terence Crawford was sensational, dismantling Jeff Horn, TKO in the 9th round, I believe. As a result, he is the reigning WBO welterweight champion of the world. He is looking to unify the belts. He wants Keith Thurman. He wants Errol Spence Jr. That fight against Errol Spence Jr. would be something special. Both guys are looking for Keith Thurman, who's been out of action for a little while or so. We're looking forward to hearing what he has to say. There's a lot of stuff to get into. Whenever Terence Crawford calls, I'll definitely bring him on the line. For the moment, however, I want to say this. I watched Tom Brady talking with Oprah. And one of the things that resonated with me is how he said that ultimately he came to terms with the fact that he just wasn't going to win. My point is that just proved he was posturing. He always knew he was never going to win. He always knew that he was going to have to take the hit. You know, you speak to some people out there, the Belichick critics who will remain nameless, but they'll be on the show in a few minutes, I'm sure. Tom Brady was always going to take some hits, you know, for Belichick. But we'll get into all of that a little bit later. On the line with yours truly right now is the reigning WBO welterweight champion of the world. He came on the show last week, declared he would handle his business, ended up doing so by dismantling Jeff Horn. I owe him a personal apology because he was on national television today, but they had some damn technical difficulties, and you heard him talking, but you couldn't see his face. So I had to sit up there and say, I wanted him on my radio show anyway, so I'm happy to have him back on. The WBO welterweight champion of the world, Terence Crawford. What's going on, big time? How are you?
I'm doing all right, man.
Break this down for me. After dismantling Jeff Horn, you believe you have proven what exactly?
Oh, that I'm going to be one of the best welterweight fighters in the division.
Now, you said that your goal was to unify the belt or what have you, and you've been talking as if you don't believe that you have been receiving enough respect. People that watch boxing, that know boxing, universally recognize you as one of the top 2 pound-for-pound fighters on the planet, and beating Jeff Horn the way that you did certainly didn't hurt much. What do you talk to me about this disrespect you feel that you're receiving, how people are not appreciating things about you. What are folks not appreciating about Terence Crawford?
I just don't think they appreciate the talent that I have. You know, a lot of people is saying that, I'm fighting nobodies, and Jeff Horn was a tomato can. He really didn't beat Pacquiao. So it's like we knew that was going to happen, but I just think it's the fashion that I'm beating these guys in to make them look like nobodies.
Terence Crawford right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. I watched you against Jeff Horn, and obviously I don't view Jeff Horn in the light that I view some of the elite welterweights. Make no mistake about it. But the flip side is I know enough about boxing to watch you and know when I'm watching somebody that's gifted. For you to move up in weight and to have the power that you have is really impressive. But your quickness, your ability to use that jab, to evade punches, that is what has struck me. Talk to me about what specifically you think makes you great. What is it about you that makes you so special above all the other fighters out there?
I just think my way to adapt to any fighter, you know, my thinking process, I think that's what separates me from all the other fighters. We all go in the gym and we all train. We all got our training coaches and strength and condition coaches. But I just think, you know, my mental and my mind frame and the way I think is what separates me from the others.
I'm going to use this as a testament to your greatness. I'm not going to malign you for it at all. But when I'm watching fighters, one of the things that I like to see that tells me something about them is I want to see them take a punch, because my mentality is everybody looks good until they get hit. And you're usually the one doing the hitting. I cannot recall, Terence Crawford, where I've seen you get popped, where I've seen somebody catch you flush. I haven't seen that. You're the one in the ring, not me. Have you been popped? Have you ever been hurt in your professional career?
Of course. You know, Gamboa called me being careless. I've been hit. Jeff Horn hit me with a couple of right hands, but it's just me being me, have a granite chin. I believe I have a special ability of, you know, taking punches and giving punches, and that's it.
When you look at yourself in the welterweight division, do you believe, because you're undefeated, all right, 33-0, you got 20, you know, I mean, listen, this is what you do. But when you look at yourself as a welterweight, what do you think we'll see from you in this higher weight division that we didn't see in the lower ones?
Well, I don't know yet. You know, I just believe that I'm going to continually get better, and I just have to prove it in the ring. It's no need to telling people what I'm going to do if I'm not able to do it. So my thing is I do all the showing in my fights and in the ring. This was my first welterweight fight. I felt being spectacular in my first outing. But again, that was just one fight, and I'm ready to show the world that I can do it. Many fights ongoing.
We're talking to Terence Crawford, the reigning WBL welterweight champion of the world. He's right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Look, man, this dude, Keith Thurman, right now he's 28-0 with 22 KOs, okay? I'm looking at him, and his last fight was against Danny Garcia on March 4th of 2017. That's more than a year this guy got off. I'm wondering, are you confident you're going to be able to get some of these guys in the ring? The better you look, the more of a reason to avoid you. What are your thoughts about that?
I don't think no fighter avoiding anybody if they're the top welterweights in the division. I just think things happening. You know, Keith got an injury. I don't believe he's avoiding anybody or anything like that. It just got to make sense for him to get in the ring and risk it all right at this point in time in his career.
So with Keith Thurman out of action, the likelihood of him coming back and fighting you to unify yet another belt, I mean, that's just not going to happen. I can't see that happen. A guy like Errol Spence Jr., he's a champion, but in the same breath, why sit up there and fight Terence Crawford when you can wait and there's more money down the line to be made the more you make people wait? So if you've got those two out of the mix, what are the kind of things you're hearing from your camp as to who a potential next opponent would be?
Well, right now, we just came off a fight, and we haven't even sat down and really had the time to even talk about that right now.
Okay. Terence Crawford right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Let me pick your brain about a couple of other fights that have come to our mind's eye. Yesterday it was announced that Triple G and Canelo Alvarez will fight one another. First of all, I want to know from your knowledge, because I know how much you know boxing. Obviously, you're a champion in the sport. Who did you believe won the first fight?
Oh, I had Triple G winning the first one. I was actually at that fight.
Yes, you were. I saw you there. So you thought that Triple G won the first fight, right?
Most definitely, hands down.
Who do you think's going to win the second fight?
I don't know. It depends on how Canelo fight this fight. If he fight the fight like he was fighting the second half of the fight, he got a strong chance of winning because his speed and movement was real life frustrating Gennady Golovkin. But if Golovkin can keep the pressure on him and fight like he was fighting the first half, then it's going to be another tough night for Canelo.
Terence, was it just me, or did you walk away from the fight saying, damn, Canelo looked really a lot faster than Triple G, and I would be worried about Triple G in that second fight because of that speed discrepancy? That's what I saw, at least in the second half. What about you?
No, I already knew going into the fight that Canelo was going to be way faster than Triple G. That was a no-brainer. But the thing was, Triple G was going to time him. He was just going for the knockout. I believe if he would have went to the body a little bit more, then he would have been more successful. But he was just so stuck on trying to knock Canelo out that he never really went to the body. But his jab slowed Canelo down a lot because when he was throwing it, Canelo really couldn't get off. So it just depends on their game plan coming into the second fight.
Let me get your thoughts on the other fight that supposedly has been agreed upon. Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder. I know they're welterweights. They're a little bit further from your division. But again, you know boxing and you're a champion in this sport. How do you view that fight taking place?
Oh, man, that's a great fight. That's the biggest fight in boxing right now. And those two fighting each other. And I like them both, but I'm going to have to go with Wilder, man. He's hungry, and he got that indicator. Like, when in doubt, if he catch you with it, you're going to sleep. And we seen how Anthony Joshua got dropped by
Klitschko.
And I just don't see, him getting up or Wilder letting him finish the fight if he hurt him like that.
Now, I know you saw Deontay Wilder go up against Luis Ortiz. Ortiz had him a little hurt, though, Terence Crawford. He had him a little hurt. I was worried.
But if you look at it, Ortiz was fundamentally sound. Not saying that Joshua is not. He was crafty. He got the little movements. He got the little quick check hooks and check lefts. Now, Joshua, he's orthodox, so he's not going to be coming from the opposite side. I just don't see it. I just think that Joshua get hit with right hands. If you watched his last fight with Parker, he was getting touched. And if Wilder touching him like that, then it's going to be a short night.
Terence Crawford right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio, the reigning WBO welterweight champion of the world. Before I let you get on out of here, just a couple of more questions. I mean, I'm thinking about you know, just some of the greats that have fought in this sport. And one of those guys is Floyd Money Mayweather, obviously. He raves about you, thinks you're very, very special. What does that mean to you? What, if any, relationship do you have with Floyd Money Mayweather?
Well, it means a lot, you know, especially come from best fighter in the world, you know, acknowledging me as the best active fighter in the world. You know, that tells a lot about my skills and my ability inside the ring. Me and Floyd actually real cool. You know, he hit me up before my fight and after my fight. Told me to go out there and do my thing, and you know, he rooting for me and pulling for me, and you know, that just gave me a little more extra confidence to go out there and put on a great show. Being that Floyd hit me up and told me that he was going to watch me and stuff like that. So, you know, it just, you know, something that keeps me motivated to keep doing what I'm doing.
Let me ask you this last boxing question. Do you plan on staying in the welterweight division? Do you envision yourself, is this where you want to be for years to come? Or do you see yourself moving up even further in weight? Is that something that's an aspiration of yours, or are you where you've always wanted to be in the welterweight division right now?
Well, right now I'm at the welterweight division. I'm not thinking about it. 54 yet. I just moved up to welterweight. So anything other than 47 is not in, you know, my fruition right now.
I got you. Before I let you get on out of here, man, I happen to know that you're a little basketball fan there. I know that you believe in the Golden State Warriors. You believe they're the best. They're the 2-time reigning defending NBA champions. Your thoughts on LeBron James getting swept, sir? That's a better question.
Oh, man.
That's right.
You asked me, they should have lost to the Celtics, but you know, LeBron, he played his heart out. You know, like I always say, you can't do it by yourself when you're playing a team sport. You know, he did everything he could, and they let Game 1 get away from him, and Golden State came back and, you know, made him pay for that. And you could tell that he was getting wore down, because I believe that was his third Game 7 in the playoffs, you know, and he was playing practically every minute of the game. So it was just a matter of time before his body just ran down.
Let me ask you this last question. And it was asked to you this morning about Golden State. That's your favorite for next year. I got a better question for you. What has to happen with what team could potentially knock off Golden State, and what do they need to do it? Who's the biggest threat? What do you perceive the biggest threat to Golden State being?
Well, if Houston come back with all the players that they had this year, I believe Houston. You know, if you look, if Chris Paul didn't get hurt, then, you know, maybe Golden State lose that next game. You know, they had him on the ropes, and I just strongly believe Chris Paul was the factor. So you don't think Houston needs to change at all, Terence? You think they don't need to go out and get LeBron? They could stand pat as presently constructed, and you think they take out Golden State next year? Oh, of course. If Harden stayed consistent and Chris Paul is healthy, of course. You know, you seen it right there. All right. You know, they was out shooting them, out rebounding them. You know, they had them on their heels.
I think Golden State would have won that Game 7, but that's just me. Man, I appreciate you, man. Congratulations on everything. I'm looking forward to you fighting Keith Thurman. I think you'll beat him. And then Errol Spence Jr., I can't wait for that fight as well. Good luck in all that you're doing, man. I'm proud of you, man. Keep it going.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take it easy, bro. The one and only Terence Crawford, WBO welterweight champion, former junior middleweight champion of the world. The brother's a bad brother. I mean, come on now. He's something special. He really, really is. He's got the whole package. Make no mistake about it. I'm talking the whole package, y'all. He can box. He can go straight. He's natural southpaw. He's got power in either hands. Terence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr. That might be one of the great fights coming up. Everybody's high on Thurman. including my man Maurice Bernard that plays Sonny Corinthos on General Hospital. You know, that's my man. I got a recurring role on that soap opera. I'll be back there this fall, by the way. But I got to tell you something. I'm not as high on Thurman as everybody else. I know he can fight. I'm not trying to disrespect him, but I'm not as high on him as everybody else is. I think Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. will both take Keith Thurman. I really do. I'm not saying by knockout. It could be decision, but I think he'd lose to both of them. I really believe that. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. To the phones we go. Ramel in Long Island. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me. Ramel, are you there? All right.
I got 3 questions for you.
Go ahead, man.
2 basketball, 1 football. Do you see a scenario where LeBron and Kawhi Leonard could join each other in San Antonio?
No. Unless LeBron was willing to go to San Antonio, because I don't think San Antonio would trade Kawhi to the Lakers. What's your second question?
Second question is, I'm a big Knicks fan. What do you think do you see Kyrie eventually joining the Knicks in 2019?
I don't see it happening. I think that if he were a free agent, which he would be next summer, then I think he'd give the Knicks very strong consideration, particularly if Porzingis was healthy and was recruiting him to come on board. The flip side is that he has a year until he's a free agent, and we're talking about Danny Ainge having the rights to him right now. And the Knicks have nothing to offer Danny Ainge. So I could see him giving Kyrie to somebody else for viable assets. And obviously he couldn't move Kyrie unless Kyrie swore that he was going to re-up with whoever he was traded to. And so that's what you have the issue there. I don't think that I would say it's less than a 25% chance Kyrie would end up in New York, but at least it's that much.
Makes sense. Last one. I'm a big Giants fan. Where do you see us ending up in this upcoming season?
It's hard to say. If they really have improved the defense, I could see second place. I don't see. You know what? Believe it or not, I've got the Dallas Cowboys right now, and I reserve the right to change my mind because I'm sick to my stomach, ready to throw up just for having to say that. But I actually could see the Dallas Cowboys winning the division this year. I got to see how Saquon Barkley vibes with Odell Beckham Jr. and Sterling Shepard and those boys. And I got to see what the Giants defense does before I believe in anything, not to mention how well they protect Eli Manning. In the case of the Cowboys, I think re-signing Zach Martin was a big deal. Continuing to buffer your offensive line with Ezekiel Elliott not having to worry about the suspension, with Dak Prescott knowing he's going to have Ezekiel Elliott at his disposal. I expect the Dallas Cowboys offense to be potent. I do think they made a mistake, though, in letting go of Dez Bryant. I'm not siding with primetime Deion Sanders saying they should go back and rethink things and bring Dez Bryant back, because I think it's too little too late. You already took that cap hit, but they should have never let Dez Bryant go in the first place. I think that was a huge mistake on the part of the Dallas Cowboys. I also don't think Dez Bryant deserved that, and I think that they could potentially end up paying for it. But if they've improved their defense, then to me, because of their running game and that offensive line and Dak Prescott and how efficient he is when he has a running game and the offensive line protecting him, I would still give them the edge over everybody else. I know the Philadelphia Eagles are the reigning Super Bowl champions, but I think there's something to be said for everybody seeing them coming. Carson Wentz coming off of injury, the whole Nick Foles scenario. I could see the Philadelphia Eagles falling off this year and then coming back in 2019 and wreaking havoc. But that's just my thoughts. Appreciate the call. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Back with more of the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. Talking NBA free agency. Talking Lakers, OKC, Philadelphia, Houston, Boston. The list goes on and on. Plus, you heard me bring up Tom Brady, right? He talked with Oprah. And obviously he revealed that he just stopped fighting and just let the stress go. Because you know something, you couldn't win anyway. So why even bother? Well, you knew that beforehand, and you still fought anyway, which means you were posturing because you knew there was no way in hell you could win. You just wanted to give the impression of innocence. Was it to protect Bill Belichick? Or his own image? Or both? I'll have an answer to that question and more in a minute. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Washing my nose, oh yeah.
I'm a shower curtain, and I do one thing. Keep water from leaking everywhere. So you see why I feel useless compared to Geico, who does so much more. Like, not only could Geico save you money, but they've been around for over 75 years. And they give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or on the Geico app. And they've got a 97% customer satisfaction rating. They do all this while I have to listen to this chucklehead. Oh, good, he stopped.
Washing my toes.
Oh, great, an encore.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Let's go to Wilson in New Jersey. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Wilson?
Hey, Stephen A. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you.
I want to talk about Crawford. If Thurman, first of all, when he fought Gamboa, a washed-up Gamboa, he was hurt. He got hurt a few times. I'm talking about Crawford.
Hold on, you talking about Crawford? You said Crawford got hurt a few times?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Now,
I didn't see that entire fight, so you might be right. I saw like the last 3 rounds when he picked Gamboa apart, but go ahead.
If he fights a healthy Keith Thurman, I don't see him lasting, because if he gets hurt the way Gamboa hurt him, Keith Thurman is going to kill him.
Okay. I'm not sold on Thurman, man. I'm sold on Thurman's power. Let me say that. I am sold on Thurman's power. I'm not sold on Thurman the boxer. I'm not sold on him.
I am, because of the way he fought Garcia. I think Garcia was a better boxer, and he showed up, he showed his skills pretty good with Garcia.
I thought Garcia came on strong after he felt he could taste and take Keith Thurman's power. That's what I felt.
About Spence Jr., I believe Spence Jr. will be the best boxer we've seen in a long time.
You think Thurman's the best boxer we've seen in a long time?
Spence Jr. I think Spence Jr. is
Errol Spence Jr. is that guy.
He is going to destroy everybody in the division.
I'm an Errol Spence Jr. fan, and I think he's naturally bigger and stronger than Terence Crawford, but I got to tell you, Terence Crawford is a spectacular talent, bro. He really, really is. He's a spectacular talent. I can't sleep on him. I really can't.
What threw me off was when he got hurt against a washed-up Gamboa. That right there, I was like,
How was Gamboa washed up at the time? He was still young.
He had it for 2 years.
Because he had it for 2 years.
He had about 3 losses before. Because
he had to. Gamboa had too many damn distractions. He really, really did. So you do make a good point there. I appreciate the call, Wilson. Thank you so much. Eric in Michigan, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Eric.
Hey, Stephen A. With sports gambling being legal in the United States of America now, it's time to have the discussion about how we're going to pay these college athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the amount of money that's already out there and the exponential amount that's going to grow once these states start implementing this,
okay,
these kids are going to be making some people a lot of money, and they're going to be losing people a lot more money. We have to figure out a percentage, I think, would be the best way to get these kids, depending on what their program brings in. Because college basketball brings in more than, and I hate to say it, but chess.
Mm-hmm. I got you. I understand what you're saying. I would tell you, listen, we don't need sports gambling and its arrival on the legal stage, meaning having it legalized. We don't need that to recognize that these athletes need to be paid. Just as long as we understand everybody doesn't need to be paid the same. If you're playing football at Alabama, somebody at Drexel doesn't deserve the same as you. Period. And we got to understand that in the capitalistic society, there are haves and have-nots, and everybody does not deserve the same. It's just that simple. The more revenue you generate, the more you deserve. Appreciate the call. Carlton in Tampa, you're live with Stephen A. What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm thinking about flying to New Jersey and placing a bet on how many more years it's going to be before ESPN figures out actually what was really going on with Deflategate and learns how to read things like Tom Brady's interview with Oprah. So let me tell you what Tom Brady was talking about when he said he found out who he could count on and who really supported him. Well, not my coach, Bill Belichick, who chucked me under the bus to cover up Bill's cheating scheme, okay?
Bill Belichick definitely threw him under the bus when he immediately addressed the media and said, ask the quarterback, ask Tom Brady. I don't have anything to do with that. You're absolutely right.
And he talked about his frustrations. His frustrations were that he had to destroy his cell phone on the day he was scheduled to meet with Tom Wells to hide the fact that Bill was behind it all. And another one of his frustrations was how the Patriots made Jim McNally, a.k.a. Jimmy Hot Fingers, and John Jastrzemski, the two guys that were actually doing the deflating balls, disappear from the face of the earth. And you guys have never been able to talk to them since. They literally disappeared from the planet, Stephen A. Okay. But now, Bill's trying to quell his current, palace coup going on there over the whole sitting of Malcolm Butler, which alienated half the team, and all the free agents left. Solder left, Dion Lewis left, Danny Amendola left, Malcolm Butler left. And so he's doing things like he canceled the last 2 days of OTAs this year. When have you ever seen Bill Belichick do that? And
I never saw him do that. So why are you saying he's doing that? Why did he cancel the last 2 days of OTAs?
He is trying to put down the mutiny on the Patriots, or the remaining Patriots, a.k.a. Tom Brady and Gronkowski, who both did not attend voluntary OTAs. Now, he also had his organization leak out that Danny Amendola is appealing his 4-game PED suspension. So I think he's also trying to deflect by what I am calling Bill's juice bar, his third major cheating scandal. If you remember, 2 years ago, Rob Ninkovich, who tore his triceps, got popped for PEDs. 4 games. He wasn't using Alex Guerrero, by the way. Edelman just started up with Guerrero, and what they're trying to do is deflect attention towards Guerrero for Edelman's PED suspension, which, by the way, is a substance that they're not even sure what it is, the NFL. They just know it's a banned substance, and they're still investigating it. So watch for Bill's third major cheating scandal, i.e. that this came from the Patriots trainers, not from Guerrero, who denied he had anything to do with this whatsoever. But one of these days, you guys are actually going to figure out that the Patriots were deflating footballs for 8 years. So, Tom, stop trying to play the victim. You got a benefit for 8 years from less fumbling, and your receivers hanging onto the ball better because you are putting a pin in the football.
Oh, my goodness. Take it easy, Carlton. Have a good day. That's the Carlton I know and love. It's the Carlton I know and love. You're looking for haterade, when it comes to Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots, look no further than my man Carlton, formerly of Massachusetts, now retired in Tampa, but I love him, and boy, does he know his stuff. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You are listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio. Your calls to close out the show in a minute.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
That caller that called in talking about this guy Gamboa that Terence Crawford picked apart. Remember that Gamboa hadn't lost a fight until he lost to Crawford on June 28th, 2014. Prior to that, he did not have a 2-year layoff, sir. His previous fight was 1 year and 20 days earlier, June 8th, 2013. So it was not a 2-year layoff. It was a 1-year layoff. And Gamboa walked into the ring against Terence Crawford and got picked apart. Anyway. And then after that, and by the way, Gamboa was undefeated, at the time. And then even after he lost to Terence Crawford, he had won 3 straight before losing to Robinson Castellanos, on May 5th of 2017. So, that is not accurate. Gamboa is 28-2, 17 KOs. He's lost 2 fights by KOs. One to Crawford, the other to Castellanos. Let's get to the phones. By the way, this other thing, state of California, at some point in time, we might have to talk about this tomorrow. You got some guy, founder and managing director of Draper Fisher Jurvetson, Timothy Draper. He said for several years, the Silicon Valley entrepreneur Timothy Draper has sought to break up California, citing its unwieldy size as damaging to the state's schools, livability, and the economy. In November, California residents will get their chance to vote on his latest proposal to divide the world's 5th largest economy, which is the state of California, into 3 separate states. Mr. Draper is proposing that the state of 40 million people be split into 3 entities with roughly the same populations. Northern California will comprise the upper part of the state, including Silicon Valley and San Francisco. Southern California would include a vast swath of the inland's verdant farmland stretching to San Diego. A third state, simply called California, would hug the coastline from Monterey to Los Angeles. Good luck with that. You need approval from the California legislature as well as the United States Congress. You ain't getting it. Folks might lose votes over that. Ain't gonna happen. But good luck. Go for it. Let's go to the phones real quick. Let's go to Zeke in Michigan. You're live with Stephen A. What's up real quick?
Hey, Zeke. Hey, Stephen A. How you doing, man? I had a quick question, man. As a lifelong Pistons fan, I just need to know, I really don't know what's going on with them right now as far as how they're going to get through it. But do you think they could trade Andre Drummond? And if they can, what are they going to get for return? Do you think he's like a lottery pick?
Andre Drummond is owed $25.4 million, then $27 million, then $28 million after that. Unless you, first of all, I don't think he'll be traded out west because their style of play is not conducive to him being successful. In the East, I don't know who will want him at that salary. It remains to be seen, but I gotta go. I'll talk about that another time. Thank you. Adam in Houston, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Stephen A., I'll make this quick. Once LeBron is no longer with the Cavs, my question is, do you think that Kevin Love will get traded, or do you see him staying with Cleveland?
I think Kevin Love's going to get traded. I think he'll want out. He's really, really liked by a lot of those guys. And he's really liked by the Cleveland Cavaliers organization. He's an incredibly nice guy, and he's a good player. He's owed $24.1 million. It's a movable contract. And I think he's liked a lot throughout the league, and there's various teams that want him, and he won't want to stay in Cleveland without LeBron. I think Kevin Love is gone. Appreciate the call. Trey in Dallas, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A., thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to ask you, with LeBron chasing 23, which is Michael Jordan, beyond his career, do you think he want to go somewhere where maybe they want to give him relinquish from, GM duty
LeBron
to him once he's done with his career?
LeBron has no interest in being GM. He wants to be an owner, and even that he's only entertaining. But he ain't trying to work for anybody. If LeBron does anything, he's going to try to own his own team, to be quite honest with you. Appreciate the call. Let's go to Tommy in Maryland. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Tommy? Tommy, are you there? Adam in Indiana. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Adam?
All right, 2 things I said. If LeBron want to win a couple rings, he should just go to San Antonio if him and Kawhi can work.
I don't think. Wait a minute. I don't think LeBron and Kawhi beats Golden State.
Remember, Kawhi by himself, they were up by 19.
So what? In one game? In game one of a series?
I'm just saying. I mean,
hold on, no. Don't give me you're just saying. You know better than that. If you called up here and make such a proposal, that means you know something about basketball. And if you know something about basketball, one game don't mean a damn thing, and you know it.
Hey, but it'd be a nice little combo. Along with LaMarcus Aldridge, he's better than any two that they got.
Oh, please. They wouldn't beat Golden State. Not the style of play. They're not good enough shooters. Even though Kawhi can ball and he could shoot, you're not talking about, you gotta want it, you gotta go get it. You gotta have an alpha dog on the offensive end of the floor, which they wouldn't have. I'm not buying that at all. I don't feel it, but I understand where you're coming from, Adam. They would definitely be a title contender. I could definitely see them getting to the conference finals, but I just don't view them as being enough to beat Golden State. I don't view it. You got to have somebody on there that's going to fire away, not somebody who's going to be mechanical and economical in their offensive approach. I don't believe that. I don't believe that works. I'm going to get on out of here. Got a lot to talk about, and I will talk about a whole bunch of stuff tomorrow, 22 hours from now. Until then, thank you for listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. Until 22 hours from now. Peace and love, everybody.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.